Champions Cup Friday games, Scarlets and Toulon, two teams that I have not watched for a bloody long time, to be honest, because for European club rugby, I haven't really watched anything but the Champions Cup for the last couple of years, and the last year, neither of these sides were in it. So, it's going to be nice. I've had a look at the lineups. I'll go through those, some of the predictions, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on this one. But I am pretty excited for it. I'm hoping it goes ahead because the routine testing in the Welsh regions, which is what the line in the BBC said, said that one of the Scarlets players tested positive for COVID-19, which means a bunch of the close contacts have had to go and self-isolate. So they've got 10 changes to their side. That's also caused the Bath game to be cancelled against La Rochelle. Remember, Scarlets are 1-0 in the Champions Cup with a 23-19 win over Bath last week. Went down to the final minute. Final referee's call. I watched the highlights of it, but didn't get to see the whole game. So, I'm still hoping this one goes ahead without any dramas. Hopefully everyone else is not a close contact. It just seems weird that the Scarlets game can go ahead, but the Bath one can't when it's the Scarlets player that was tested positive. But I don't know how it works, man. I'm, in case you haven't noticed, not a scientist or a doctor. But anyway, two other games are actually off on the Champions Cup this weekend as well. Exeter-Toulouse has been called off with Exeter having some COVID cases. They played Glasgow last week. Glasgow's game is also off. So there's more games going off, but hopefully these ones will stay on. Toulon, likewise, they got a win. They got a win last week over Sale Sharks, 26-14. I've seen the highlights for that one as well. Went out to a 26-0 lead. Both their wingers scored, and then they allowed a couple of tries from Sale towards the end. But either way, both these sides had a decent opening round, albeit Scarlets away from home. So they are back home for this one. They've made 10 changes. Seems like some of those are injuries, and some of those guys who are the close contacts. So it's a bit of an upheaval. But there's some familiar names back as well. The front row is Wyn Jones, Ryan Elias, and is it Javan Sebastian? I don't think I've seen Sebastian play before. He's up from the bench from last week, but obviously Ryan Elias and Wyn Jones, pretty familiar names for anyone who's watched Welsh rugby in the last few years. An all-new second row with Morgan Jones coming up into the starting lineup, and Savita Ratuva is back into the 23. There's no Jake Ball this week, and Sam Losey is also out of the 23. I think Balls was an injury, but they didn't mention Losey, so maybe he's one of the close contacts. They didn't really kind of go into that detail. Ed Kennedy comes into the 23 at 6. Josh McLeod's up from the bench at 7. And Uza Kasim is back in at number 8. So, man, none of those guys. I mean, the only guys, I think, is Elias and Wyn Jones started last week. So, it's massive upheaval. Blade Thompson's out of 23. Callum Afondi, who made like 20-something tackles last week's, out of the 23. Jack Morgan, who's not a guy I've really gotten a chance to see play, but people talk about him pretty well. He's injured as well. So, man, huge changes to that forward pack. But still enough familiar names to hopefully mean these guys are going to put in a decent shift. They do have a few debutants on the bench, which may be where they lack a bit over the course of the 80. Kieran Hardy gets a start after being behind Gareth Davis last week, who was out of the 23. Dan Jones is a 10. Steph Hughes continues on. He's captain at 12. Jonathan Davis comes up from the bench to start at 13. Lee Halfpenny's still there at 15. Johnny McNichol is back at 14. Good to see him back fit after having another injury. The guy's got pretty bad luck. Hopefully he gets a good run. And Tom Rogers, who I don't know that I've seen play. He's on the left wing. So, that's the starting 15 for Scarlets. Like I mentioned, a fair few changes just with injury, COVID, and whatnot. It's just seemingly quite enforced. Less so for Toulon, and to be honest, I could be forgiven, I think, for at a glance thinking this is some kind of mixed Super Rugby team, because I read the names from 15 backwards. You got Duncan Paiawa, who's a former Queensland Reds man at fullback. Tends to play a bit of 10-15 from when I've seen him, but I haven't seen him since he's been playing in France. Ramiro Mojano, so the former Juarez man, Argentina guy, winger, scored a try last week. Very, very good player. And then you do have Gabin Villiers on the left wing, so he is, proper French. I think he's a sevens guy from what people said, and he played in those last couple of rounds of the Autumn Nations Cup. He looks really good, got a try as well. But if you're reading from 15, you got 15, 14, and then 13 is Ayasaya Tueava. He's a former Blues man, but he's been in France for a long time, admittedly. Ma'anonu, another Blues connection at 12. And then, Villiers, Carbonell, and Serran. So you do have the French connection at 9, 10, and 11. Carbonell is an excitement machine player to watch. He seemed to set up one of those tries for Toulon last week with a little chip through. And Serran's a bit of a veteran. Forward pack, you got Gross, Tolofua, and Setiano. Tolofua's up from the bench from last week. Alain Nuesse is a former Chiefs man, apparently. I can't remember him. But apparently he used to play for the Chiefs a couple of times in Super Rugby, but I'll be keen to see how he goes. Tafa Fanua's there up from the bench as well. Rabaj, Olivon, and Issa makes out the back row. In terms of big names, man, Toulon, kind of unsurprisingly, it's partially what they're known for. They are packing some serious punch, man. Olivon, the Frenchman, is a proper class player. He is captain. Issa plays for the Pumas. He is a big, big boy. There's no Eben Etzebeth, no Parise this week. So speaking of big names, but they've still managed to keep the side relatively stable and, chock full of talent. So I guess with those 10 changes, you might think that Toulon will go into this one as favourites, even though they are away from home. And if you look at the bookmakers' odds, you'd be right, because they are favoured to win it by 2 points. But if you look at Rugby Forecast algorithm, which goes not so much on players at all, it just goes on overall competition and head-to-head stats and whatnot, that's favouring Scarlets by 3. So it seems like it could be a pretty tight one, actually. I think it's on at 5:30 in the morning in the UK. It's on at 6:30 in the morning over here in New Zealand. Friday game there, Saturday morning game here. So I'll be getting up first thing in the morning to watch that one. As I said, I have not watched Scarlets play or Toulon for quite some time. So if the game goes ahead, am really looking forward to just seeing these guys go at it, because from the highlights, both looked pretty good last week, despite the changes for this week. But it could be a pretty entertaining game. The Wasps and Montpellier game is on after this one, but I don't know that I'll get a chance to see that. I'll see what I can do. But anyway, this is the one that I've got my eyes on for Saturday my time. But you guys let me know any of the other guys I should be looking out for, any of the guys on the bench, any of the debutants. Josh McLeod, is he any good? And I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.